We're going to call this co-action committee meeting to order. But before we get started, I'm going to ask Auntie Jessie to pull it for the meeting.
Everyone just move on. God and merciful Father, as we come together this evening, we thank you for this opportunity for allowing us to be able to gather in this wonderful place. We ask for your presence, that the things that may be said, that will be able to help move us further in our endeavor to be creative with Kaʻū and keep everything at its best. And let us all show each other love and respect, whether we agree or disagree with each other. Let everything be honored. We commit all things into your care and keeping. Amama Wanoa. Amen. Mahalo.
Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. The co-action committee meeting will now come to order. It is Wednesday, April 24th, and the time is 5:32 p.m. This meeting is held in person and by interactive conference technology. The meeting will also be recorded on Zoom. As a reminder, for Sunshine Law, AC members appearing remotely must keep their cameras on and announce anyone who is with them, except for minors in their location. We're going to go ahead and do a roll call, starting from the right of the committee members.
Jason Masters.
Babette Morrow.
Jessica K.
Kaʻū Moku Hali'i. Lena Alawinos.
Lenny Bar.
And I'm the chair of Pernell Hamoa. We have a forum to hold this meeting. From the county officials and staff, from the Office of the Corporate Counsel, Deputy Corporate Counsel Gene Campbell, attorney for the committee, and from the planning department, we have staff Miriam Palmer, Jessica Khalid, and Kiara Cohen. Is that correct? Thank you. Okay, housekeeping. Please make sure you have all your cell phones turned off on the silent mode. If there's anyone here who'd like to testify, please fill out the sign-up forms and give it to our staff. Zoom testifiers can send a message in chat to the Zoom host indicating on which item they'd like to testify on. We ask that everyone please state your name before speaking. Okay, to all of us who are attending in person, please remember to speak towards the owl camera. It's the thing on the tripod here in the middle. So everyone on Zoom can hear. Okay, the first order of business is the approval of the minutes. The time is now 5:34 p.m. The committee will now consider approving the draft minutes from our February 28, 2024 meeting. May I ask for a motion to approve the February 28, 2024 meeting minutes that's circulated?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
It has been moved by the committee member Babette Morrow and seconded by Jessica K to approve the draft minutes from February 28, 2024 meeting. Is there any discussion on the minute? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Yep. Public testimony on the agenda items. Time is now 5:36 p.m. The committee will now call for statements from the public as stated in the published agenda. Members of the public may provide public testimony regarding the agenda items now or at the time the agenda item is called to order. If there's anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the sign-up form in front of the table and give it to our staff. In-person testimony. Do you have anybody, just by show of hands, how many people will testify today? Anyone? No? Okay. The committee will now call for statements from the public as stated in the published agenda. And members of the public may provide public testimony regarding the agenda items. Okay. Zoom testimony. If there's anyone on Zoom who'd like to provide public testimony on the agenda items, please state your name. And if you would like to speak, we wait, you can either speak now or you can wait until the agenda item comes up. I'm gonna keep the testifiers to 3 minutes. I don't think we have a lot of folks today, but to 3 minutes. First order of business on our agenda. Time is now 5:36 PM. The committee will move on to business item 1. Election of a committee chairperson for 2024. The committee will now nominate and elect a chair and vice chair to serve as a 2024 calendar year. Just for clarification, I was the chair, I am the chair, but I'm gonna be stepping down for some personal reasons. So we're gonna have another election. Okay, is there anybody here who'd like to provide testimony on this item who has not already done so? Do we have any nominations for the chair of the AC?
I nominate Jason.
Yeah, okay. And Delay nominates Jason Masters for chair of the AC. So let's go ahead, so you make a motion, Anthony.
Yeah.
Okay?
Second.
Seconded by Committee Brown. To approve Jason Masters as the chairperson of the Kaʻū CDP AC for 2024. Is there any discussion? Do we have any other members? Comments? You got a question?
No,
Okay. So it has been moved and seconded that Jason Masters, will be the chair for the AC committee.
We don't need
Yeah.
to vote for it.
We did everybody approved it? Oh, sorry, okay. Can we have a vote on Jason Masters being the AC chair? Any opposed? No? Okay, Jason is now AC chairperson.
Do we also need to vote for co-chair or? Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have, we need a nomination for the vice chair for the AC Action Committee.
This is Kaʻū Mokuhali. I nominate Pernell Hanoa for vice chair.
Okay, do we have a second? So it has been moved by the committee member, and Kaʻū Mokuhali, and Elena Ala, that Pernell Hanoa is gonna be the vice chair for the committee. Is there any discussion? So I'm gonna ask each member to vote.
Aye.
Okay. So it looks like I'm the vice chair.
So thank you both.
Time is now 5:40, and the committee will move on to business item 2. Testimony,
Excuse me, Vice Chair,
yes,
I don't know, Chair Masters will.
okay,
Chair.
Start the next meeting. Okay. Okay. Alright. Okay. All right, the time is 5:41 PM. The committee will now move on to business item number 2. Earlier, too late. Testimony to Windward Planning Commission, the discussion and decision making, if and how the committee will provide testimony to the Windward Planning Commission regarding the pending SMA application of Black Sands Beach LLC. I'm not gonna read the permit number, if that's suitable. Is there anyone who would like to provide testimony on this item who has not already done so? We will allow 3 minutes per person. All right, seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom who would like to provide testimony?
I have a question.
Yes.
Not really testimony, but are we gonna discuss as a committee whether or not we're providing testimony as a whole to the planning commission on this item?
Yeah, so I think it would be appropriate for us to have a discussion and then we could either make a motion or we could have a discussion.
Well, the agenda item is whether or not, if so.
Right.
Okay,
So we could either have a discussion or make a motion or, right? And move forward with it. Right, that's right. But there is no testimony.
There's no testimony, so we can go right straight into it. Make a motion to discuss.
So, does anyone wish to make a motion on this item, such as for us to discuss it? Or shall we move forward on it? So would someone like to make a motion to discuss it?
I move that we discuss the SMA application by Black Sands Beach LLC and determine if we want to make recommendations to the planning commission.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll say,
Is that a second?
I got clean on.
Yeah. All right, so we have a motion by Lambert, and a second by, I believe, Delay. So, would you like to start our discussion?
Well, I'm just, I'm curious as to how we make a position here, because there's been a lot of input from the community. There was a lot of input from the community during the writing of the original CDP and some recommendations regarding protecting the coast from development and other things like that pertaining to this specific site. There was actually a recommendation on the last page of the CDP. There was a discussion about Honolulu. So I'm just kind of, I'm wondering how the rest of the committee feels about taking a position. Hopefully we've all had a chance to look through the SMA application and the studies that have been done. So I just kind of wanted to open it up to everybody and see, since we're the action committee, if we should be making.
So as for me, I'm gonna submit personal testimony, so I won't be submitting it as part of the action committee. I'm just gonna be for myself, be submitting testimony.
Well, I was curious about that too, if I should submit something personal, or because I'm on the action committee, should I not?
Well, we can do
But
both.
as long as you
Do
keep
both.
doing it as yourself and not representing the
Right.
action committee.
That I'm not representing the action committee, okay.
Also, I'd like to hear from those who are on the public investigatory board committee. If you folks have been meeting with the community, with the applicant, what's going on with that group? Because that group was to hopefully come back to us and kind of inform us as a group because we all can't sit on that committee, right? And so, I know we have notes, things were done in the past that we have in our files. But I wanted to know if there was any update after the Windward Planning Commission. If, I know some of you were on vacation, so that's kind of hard, but, if we can have an update maybe from that committee, and I think that committee is, for now, right?
Yeah,
And Jesse and you and, okay, yeah. So I just wanted to know what you're doing, or any update is going to have.
yeah, as far as the action committee, we didn't have any updates, any more updates than what we had in the previous meetings, that was pretty much it.
So we just have what you folks have already submitted.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
And then just logistically, so they're, the next Windward Planning Commission meeting, that's coming up.
That's
soon.
May 6th. They did a special meeting, so, and there'll be at Little Chambers.
So if we were to, provide testimony, would we not have to have it come back at a future meeting, or would we have to agree tonight on what that?
It could be tonight, bullets could be like mentioned, or the template, the draft could be kind of figured out. And then that could get finalized, you guys can vote to finalize and send that in. It could be that you guys decide, if you decide to submit written testimony, then it would be to designate something drafted also, and then we might need to call a special meeting to vote on it, to submit. Like says a whole. Gina, I guess the question I have is, would it be an option for the AC to designate an individual to draft, the testimony? And like already be in agreement what the different objectives that might be listed in that testimony without the specific written letter already. And then that can be submitted with planning's help outside of the meeting without another vote.
Yeah, so you can have lots of options. You're not required to submit testimony, so that's an option. You can decide you don't want to as a group. As your vice chair, said, you're absolutely, every single one of you can submit your own personal testimony. If you do that, you just want to make sure that it's personal testimony and you don't mention the fact that you're an AC member. And you're completely welcome to do that. As a group, you could decide tonight that you do want to submit testimony, and you could sit down and write out the whole letter together this evening. That's an option. You could sit down and kind of, like Miriam suggested, put together kind of bullet points about what you want to say and designate one person to finalize the letter and authorize them to, just basically you're going to say, I trust you to, we've talked out what we want to talk about in our letter, and I'm going to trust, we as a group are going to trust you individually to finalize that letter and put it in the mail. Or you can, to the planning commission. Or you can also, like Miriam said, call a special meeting, which
I'm not too sure we would be able to do that in time.
Yeah,
Would that be called like
with your.
agendized by tomorrow or something?
Yeah, see, I think it's gotta be really fast because with your notice requirement for your agenda being published and all of that stuff, squeezed up against May 6th, yeah, it would probably be like. It's really, that one would be very tight, so possible, but probably not. So does that help?
Yeah. And then, so from my perspective, or does anybody else have any? So from my perspective, I mean, we want to make sure that if we did provide testimony, and this is just my interpretation, that we're looking at how this application either does or does not comply with the CDP, right? It's not how we feel about it, or the multitude of other issues that I'm sure have been testified about. So does it or does it not comply with the many different aspects of the community? So does anybody want to talk about any of those, or? A very open-ended question.
Yeah.
Well, I went through the CDP, kind of sort of picking out stuff that I thought pertained to this specific area. And in section 4.2, to protect the coast from development, and there were some policy issues. Development and construction in the coastal conservation and open areas shall be minimized. This is neither. On lots that are at least partially within the special management area, establish shoreline setbacks at the earliest stages of the land use, planning and development process at a minimum of a quarter mile. So that's certainly a policy that we could look at as an action committee if we choose to. No development shall be approved in the SMA unless the development will not have any substantial adverse environmental or ecological effect, which has certainly been discussed in great detail in the SMA application. It also goes on to say that the planning director shall require that SMA use permit assessment and use permit applications include all the information necessary to assess the proposed activities impacts, including environmental setting, natural resources, cultural resources, historical sites, coastal scenic and open space resources, and impacts on hazard risks. So there are, I think, a couple of sections in the CDP that we could certainly discuss. There was another section, 6.8, develop the local visitor sector, which increased the number and diversity of income resources for residents, including jobs and entrepreneurial opportunities. And I don't know if that's really very applicable here, but I think the others we might consider. And those are the ones that I found looking through the CDP. I don't know if other people highlighted other sections in there that would be applicable.
I didn't see them.
So I think perhaps there's an opportunity for us to make some kind of statement about the CDP. And I don't know, there's probably some place where there was a lot of, there were so many meetings over the years in developing the CDP that I'm sure there's a lot of input from the community that was given at that time, and I don't know where that could be accessed.
Yeah. Okay, so
If you wanted to.
Through it, and there was 234 pages of the archaeology. Of significant cultural importance, and the application recommended that the developer work through the DLNR for preservation of those identified sites. So, you know, we could look at that when we're looking at, does it meet the requirements of the CDP?
The CDP doesn't, require
No
environmental.
requirements, no,
Right,
yeah.
so. I mean, that was my difficulty, is that. Regardless of how whoever feels, it doesn't have specific requirements for environmental. Impact assessments, et cetera.
In our CDP,
Correct.
yeah,
So,
the other policies,
right, so it should or
yeah.
may. So as much as. Well, what do we think of having, oh, and I did finish.
Oh, good.
Would we, since we're the two planners on the committee, would you want us to take a look at it and see if we wanna provide testimony? If there is something that. So far, I've looked at.
So may I clarify what you guys are doing or what you're trying to get across? Is you, do I understand this right, that you're trying to take what has already passed in the CDP and take a look at what is being proposed in the SMA
Right,
and see if it just, things are going to, are not applicable, or if they are.
I mean,
Right.
It's planned.
Whether they conforming or they're not.
Yeah, again,
Yeah.
so I don't think we need to say like, oh,
We
this
started this a long time
conforms, this
ago.
conforms, this conforms, well, that's.
Can't do this like tonight.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, I think the difficulty for us is that, one, it's a 500-page document. It would be easier to say, is there anything that doesn't apply? See. So, I mean, I read this document when I first saw, when I went before the planning commission. And I'm sure I missed perhaps small sections, but. You know, our CDP is on the one hand somewhat specific, but it's also a broad document, you know, and so. We could probably, like, if we were really looking, find ways that things don't comply, if that was our intent, but I don't think. You know, I think we wanna see, like, is something obviously not in the spirit of the CDP document.
I have a question, it might go to the planning department. Is there already a contested case regarding that issue? Because I understand there were, I'm not, I thought there were 3 contested cases. Are any of those applying to the CDP requirements?
There are 3 petitions.
So wait, so is your question that we might have more time to answer this?
Know that this might already be in place,
Oh,
that it might be already,
Yeah, not by us,
but by someone else. Is one of the 3 contested cases involving what we're talking about right now? Whether or not it complies with or conforms to the CDP.
that would have been nice if they could show up and
Well,
tell us.
gentleman is here, but if you.
We have to stop our discussion and we can look back from the desk.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So there were 3 petitions for contested case that were filed. Because of the overwhelming testimony of the Woodward Planning Commission, it's encouraging here. I don't think the commission ever got to determining whether those parties had standing. And so we don't know whether those contested case hearings will go forward. And I have to admit, off the top of my head, I don't remember what all was in each of those petitions. So I don't know. I think they were fairly broad. but I don't remember whether anybody specifically asked or specifically alleged that the proposal for the project was inconsistent with the city.
Yes,
all right.
so say your name for the
Doesn't need
record.
to come up here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be good. And state your name for the record, please. Please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Darren Arai. I reside in Hilo. I am the land use planning consultant for Black Sand Beach LLC. And I was the individual who prepared the special management area use permit application that was filed with the county and is currently before the Windward Planning Commission. So regarding the petitions, they did touch on a number of issues, but one of them, my recollection was none of them were specific to inconsistencies with the Kaʻū CDP. And I know, and again, I didn't want to offer testimony in the beginning because I knew the discussion was going to start off on whether you would or would not provide testimony regarding the application. But since I'm sitting here, I guess my offer to all of you is there have been questions raised about inconsistencies with the Kaʻū CDP in a number of testimonies that were offered to the Planning Commission. So obviously that question is out there, and which is why I think being the action committee charged with interpreting and implementing the policies and goals and requirements of the CDP, it might be best, and I encourage you to maybe provide that testimony as you see fit because of your charge as the action committee.
Anybody have any questions for him?
Well, I'm not sure if this is applicable, but we've had, not even half of the, testimonies.
We haven't
that
heard
what-
of this.
Yeah, and so, with what we've heard and what we're in this situation of these supposedly contested cases or whatever, addressing whether it's, CDP. We don't have, as a whole, as a group, representing the public CDP plan, enough information because we have some testimony and some documentation, but legally they have to meet certain requirements and both the CDP and whoever is doing the testimony to bring against this applicant. Still is not done or accepted or however they do that, right? So I feel as a member of this action committee is that we haven't really heard a whole lot of the testimony. What we've heard so far, I followed it on YouTube and was quite overwhelming and a lot of information. And I think we're not done. I think there's more time that the community needs, the applicant needs to maybe answer some of these concerns from our community members for and against on both sides, yeah. To meet the, like as an example, if people approve of this plan and they support the applicant, there needs to be adjustments made, whether it's legal or whether it's within the community. For me, I'm a community person, so it's kind of hard living in Kaʻū and having our people against each other and stuff like that. I sensed that during this commission meeting. And so when you talk about the spirit of the Kaʻū CDP and what we passed when we did, that even though it's something that we really didn't break down of the spirit of the community, it's there. So I think we still have a lot more time, and we need to listen to other people that have not spoken for or against it. And we need to take those into consideration. So even though we have a deadline to say something, I'm kind of feeling this is going to be something that is going to be stretched out a little bit more because this is quite a big move for anybody. Whether it be a community here or a community in Hilo or Kona or whatever. And it's not something that, the Windward Planning Commission, takes lightly, I'm quite sure. You know, I sat on a commission one time and it's really hard work. And you need to represent your community, but you also need to be, abiding by the law and by the planning, and what has been passed and is held in place by each community. So I think we have time, for us as a group here, the action team, for us to be more maka'ala and be more attentive. And if you can't make it to the meetings, or if the applicant would like to continue to meet with community, I think that's always a positive. Or even, because we're here to help all of you, meaning the community and the applicant, to connect you to people who are interested in this situation or who may be able to help. So for the community, same thing. The applicant has done their duty to put in this application and that all the homework. And our community in their chunks have done that too. But there needs to be a coming together or a continuation of communicating with each other. Because this project has its pluses, but it has its minuses. We need to get together as a community and as the applicant to malama that, okay? And it's not going to be within, like the applicant, because I was involved in some of the first meetings with her when she came. All those years, still did not have enough information, with the majority of people. It's hard when you do little pockets of people to talk to. I mean, the CDP took 8 years to do. And we came out with a solid document. So this application, to me, is so important to everyone. Whether you're for or against it, it's important to the community of Kaʻū. But yet we also need to keep in mind of our kupuna, our history, our culture. Plus, we need to also be aware of economical situation that Kaʻū is in. So this is not something that we can do within 2 years, I think, within 3 years, 5. It's something that we all need to work toward together. And it's kind of hard when it's gotten to a point where people are saying things or badgering each other, and it's not good for our community. It's not pono. And so we need to kind of malama this, but it's important because we have our young people that will have a benefit one way or the other. There needs to be a way that we as an action committee can support the Kaʻū CDP, which is our duty. But within those guidelines, how can we help community and what this applicant brings to the table? Because I'm quite sure if we could get a working group that's strong enough to work the longevity, that whatever it takes to come together. Because I'm quite sure people on the commission, the Windward Planning Commission, would surely like the community to solve it themselves. And so there's still, to me, there's still room for it. Maybe not in my time because I'm kind of old now, but the table is, I mean, it's out there. So we all need to kind of malama this, but I don't think we're in a position as a action committee to really do any type of recommendation, or we need to be there to figure out and help individuals who have taken this upon themselves, the applicant and those against and for it. How do we get all of this together? How do we figure out what's bothering some people and not bothering others, etc.? How do we kind of meet halfway? it may not be, it may not happen, I don't know, but have we really tried, you know? Some of us have worked diligently on the committee and in the community with the Puna group and stuff, but we need to do more and we need to outreach more. So I really think as an adult, maybe we're not there. We don't have enough information. We feel uncomfortable, we like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming, who has time to read? I tried to read the applicant, and I was very impressed and wondered, I learned a lot from it, but, so I think we still need more time. But we need to probably, try and work more diligently with our community, because that's who we are. And I don't think we've met we haven't met the criteria to really delve into this and work on it because of our constraints with the sunshine law. So that's kind of, yeah. I don't know, that's just me.
Do we know what the process is after the May 6th planning commission?
Well, no, they can make a decision.
They can do it right then. That's,
Direct the applicant,
That's
make
right.
changes and
So it doesn't go to the council for approval.
it does not
Those
require.
estimates approved by the planning commission.
And so he had a question or you wanted to say?
well, that was what I was gonna say is if on that May 6th meeting, they are in the decision-making mode, right? I mean, they're going through all the applicants. I think I understand that if the contested cases, maybe I need to address you, but if the contested cases do move forward, then they are not able to make their decision yet.
Or the appeals.
Right,
Yes.
yeah, so there's that process then, so that would give us time, that kind of thing. But as far as, if, I don't know that they could make their decision if those contested cases are there, they would not be able to make a decision
That's
on May
correct.
6th.
So if any of the three petitions for contested case are granted, standing, so that's the technical term for that. So they say, yes, you've met all the criteria and your petition will be heard, then you're right. The commission, that takes everything away from the planning commission. They don't get to act. And so the matter will go first to arbitration with whoever filed the contested case and the applicant, and then the county planning department is there as well. If something can be worked out through arbitration, that's great, or mediation, you know, many cases get settled that way, not everything. If they don't, eventually it will go to a contested case hearing. So a hearings officer who's like a judge will be appointed, and they'll go through the formal process of a contested case hearing. And then that hearings officer will make their decision, which is a recommendation that goes back to the planning commission for their decision. So, but you're right, if any of those petitions, if the planning commission gets through all of the testimony at the May 6th meeting, then the next step for them is evaluating whether or not any of those petitions meet the criteria for standing. If they are granted that, then like I said, the commission's work stops for the moment. It goes out for the whole contested case process, whether it's, you know, a nice happy mediation or a hearing or whatever, and they come back. If all three of those petitions are denied standing, so they say, you know, for whatever reason, there's criteria for who gets to actually actually get a contested case hearing. And if you don't meet those criteria, then you're going to be denied. If all three of them are denied, then it is possible that the planning commission could, you know, then it stays with them and it could go to their decision.
Is there? Can that information be shared with the action committee? To keep us surprised, is that public
It's all public and it all happens at the planning commission meeting itself
on the 6th?
on the 6th. Yeah, assuming that they get through the public testimony. Yeah.
Right, because
There's still a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
So we could make.
So I'm just, I'm wondering, I'm trying to look for time that we don't have a couple of years, which But to get it to, where we could see if there's conformity between the actual CDP plan that was approved, and then what, against the SMA application, which Babette has brought up, right? That's what we're,
Right.
That's our only.
that's what this discussion is, right? Whether we can do that, so we would,
Yeah.
we either get it done by the May sixth, or we cross fingers that it doesn't go by May sixth.
That's the risk we would take by not,
So,
that's the risk we would take.
right, yeah.
If I can add, I agree with what Auntie said, I don't think we're in a position.
I don't think we are either, but
But I think-
it's out of our hands at this point where they can, if, like she says, if the
Yeah,
petitions aren't.
but I think, if we're not making a testimony that we have these guys right here right now. If you have specific questions or any of us on the active committee have specific questions about whether certificating is conformed to the CDP, now might be a good time to have a discussion with you. Just open it.
I gotta agree with, Giovanni, because there's not enough information all the way around.
Yeah.
And I think by considering what she had brought up about the three, it's really out of our hands right now.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that I don't know. Oh, okay. That perhaps, again, the risk being that they do take action at the May 6th meeting, which I think most of us seem to agree that it's unlikely. But it seems to me that, we could request from the planning department all of the testimony that's already occurred, and I'm sure we could find it online, but it's nice if we can request the planning department to provide it for us. But all the testimony, or a link to the testimony or however they provide it, so that if there is things specific to the CDP that have already been pointed out, that other people have identified. I mean, I read this document when it first went to the planning commission, and I read as much as I could since we got it again. And I compared it to the CDP, and I mean, it's a lot of information. And I'm sure there's, if we really tried, there's probably ways to see if it's something is less than optimal maybe, but I don't see anything that really jumps out at the page, versus some of the other subcommittees or pigs or whatever they're called these days. Where it's like, obviously, like Mahana Bay and stuff, where it's like something needs to occur, like those, we know they don't. The CDP is very specific, nothing's happening, action needs to be taken, it's in the document, that's very clear cut, So it seems to me that, a potential motion, and I'm not making a motion at this point, would be that, we continue this item either to the next meeting, or if necessary, to a special meeting, once we've received further testimony, if we identify that there are items that are not in compliance with the CDP. But if we can't find anything, then we don't need to discuss it. Because again, our only thing, and we do have a member of the public that would like to provide testimony. Our only job, our only responsibility is to identify, not if it complies, but if it doesn't comply, We can't be driving around Kaʻū trying to find things that don't comply, that do comply. Theoretically, everything complies, it's what doesn't, right? So, that's my thought. Should we wait until 15 minutes? Like maybe yeah, we have Kumaila, Mr. Kamu, would you like to provide your testimony at this point? Yeah? And state your name for the record.
Aloha mai kakou. My name is Aina Kaʻū. Chair Masters, Vice Chair Anoa, and members of the committee. Mahalo, first of all, for your time and your efforts and your energy. I've also previously served as a county commissioner. I know how much time it takes. I know the rules that you have to work within, so I definitely appreciate all of the time that you guys have taken. I just felt that I wanted to share and to get on the record that there are areas that I would like the committee to continue to look into, because I believe there are many things that are not in alignment with the Kaʻū CDP. So I just wanted to make sure that there was some public testimony that there is concern about misalignment with the CDP. In particular, in the CDP, it says, quote, "That a large number of CDP objectives and strategies intersect at Punalii, which has a rich cultural, ecological, historical, and cultural legacy, and is dear to the hearts of most residents to this day. I think one of the challenges is that retail, dining, and entertainment centers in the CDP says it should be located in existing towns. Also, in the CDP, I think there are several different policies, as committee member Mao has shared, that the committee should look further into, including policy 23, protect the shoreline from the encroachment of man-made improvements and structures. Policy 24, maintain the shoreline for recreational, cultural, education, and/or scientific uses in a manner that is protective of resources and is of the maximum benefit to the general public. Policy 25, protect and conserve forests and coastal areas with native wildlife, natural ecosystems, and wilderness. Policy 26, encourage those developments that are not coastal dependent to locate in inland areas. Policy 27, to reinforce existing protections, the official Kaʻū CDP land use policy map designates coastal areas in Kaʻū as open space to be preserved, protected, and connected to the rich network of natural and cultural resources in the region. Again, the development and construction in these coastal conservation and open areas shall be minimized and, when necessary, limited to recreation, research, and education facilities unless otherwise permitted by law. Policy 28, on lots that are at least partially within the SMA in the Kaʻū CDP planning area, establish shoreline setbacks at the earliest stages of the land use planning and development process at a minimum of 1,320 feet or 1/4 mile. And as we've stated, some of the proposed developments and improvements are within 200 feet of the shore. Additionally, policy 29, no development, including subdivisions, shall be approved in the SMA unless the development will not have any substantial adverse environmental or ecological effect. Policy 30, amend Planning Department Rule 11 to specify that the Planning Department establish shoreline setbacks in the Kaʻū CDP planning area in accordance with Policy 28. Policy 55, do not allow incompatible construction in areas of natural beauty. Additionally, Policy 90, implement protocols for receiving community input at meetings in Kaʻū during capital project siting and design. Consult with and solicit input from community members with generational knowledge to minimize the impact, etc. So we do understand that there has been outreach, there has been work as stated in the SMA, but there are definitely, I think, further comment that can be had, that can be explored. Additionally, there is a community objective 12 in the CDP, which also perhaps may be in misalignment, which states to establish or expand the retail, service, dining, and entertainment centers in rural villages and towns capable of supporting appropriate growth. So I just wanted to get that on the record that are definitely areas in the SMA that should be further considered. And I thank you for your time and this opportunity to provide a testimony. Mahalo nui loa.
Anybody have any further questions or comments or items of discussion?
Your thought of that motion is where we lie.
Yeah, gives us, I mean.
Yeah.
Who I know, Mr. Connell, I like to stay with the, gave us some things for me to look at certainly, I think I know what he's talking about, but at least, so that I can respond to that to myself, but so that we all have an opportunity, so that we can look at the testimony that's already occurred. That I watched it, but it's nice to understand the concerns that people have. The thing about the CDP is, you know, it's not just about protecting, but it's also about encouraging things, so parts of it are for economic opportunities, right? So, which is something that this theoretically should comply with, right? So, as he mentioned, recreational research, things of that nature, so. Would somebody like to make a motion, or is there any further discussion? I made a motion.
Yeah.
What was the motion?
You want to continue the discussion or continue the research on it? Or-
No, okay. Well, let's take a step back. It looks like we have another member of the public that would like to provide testimony. We have Sophia Hanoa.
Aloha, everybody. My name is Sophia Hanoa, born and raised here in Pahala. And I stood before you guys from the very beginning and representing the Kaʻū Advisory Council and also Kaʻū, which is our tribe. To address some of the comments that was made earlier in the meetings, because you guys know that we've been meeting with the Blacksons LLC for over almost 3 years now. But there's a lot of misinformation that is out there that needs to be clarified. I see it every day on social media. And I think of the presentation, when the last time I think we spoke, I told you guys our recommendation to them was to come to the community before submitting the SMA. That would have squashed a lot of these things that we're going through right now, had they come to the community first. But when you look at the plans, they're not touching the shoreline. As a matter of fact, when you speak with them to find out the detail and the facts of what they're proposing, they want to protect the shoreline. Ninole is going to be put into conservation, which is what we as Puliana landowners and lineal descendants of the areas in our tribe is what we're trying to protect, all sacred sites. What you see on the archaeological study, there's more than that, way more. But we're not gonna speak on it because it was not for everybody to know. And that's what's happening with Punalu'u now. We saw it before in 2019 with Makanao. Punalu'u gets put out there and exploited. It was first exploited by the tourist authority, deeming Punalu'u as a hotspot, creating a stewardship program to teach the tourists. We, as Puliana stewards and as lineal descendants, had to apply. We got denied. We got denied. The biggest landowners down there, Blacksons LLC, got denied to teach the tourists about the area. Who would know best? They picked a group from Honuapo to teach these people. Those people that caretaking in Honuapo, not even from Honuapo. And this is what is happening statewide. They're giving our coastal, our shoreline, and all cultural educational programs to outsiders to come in and teach. Well, what are they teaching? Because they're not walking with our kupuna. They never walk with the kupuna, they walked with us all of our lives. So what are they teaching? We speak about protection. Well, what are we protecting from? We are now the endangered species here in Kaʻū. They took 4,000 plus acres of our shoreline under the guise of conservation preservation. We gotta apply not to go fishing. There's rules. Punalu'u is a healing place. Punalu'u is not about tourists. That's not the future. Ecotherapy is the future, to heal our people, body, mind, and spirit. It has to be our people first, not tourists. I don't agree with everything that they are proposing. There's a certain particular area they cannot build, they will never build. And they know that. But there are other positive aspects of their plans that will benefit our children. And those of us who grew up in the time when Punaluu Village Restaurant was up and running saw that. All of our aunties and uncles worked there. There was a place to go. Our sewage right now, I've been holding meetings for over 8 years about our sewage from Pahala to Naalehu. Who's gonna malamba the sewage down in Punaluu? Should these people walk away? These are the first developers ever from 2005, and we were fighting the development proposed by Kaʻū to build 2 hotels and 3,000 something condos. They didn't worry about the honu then. It was Kaʻū preservation that worried about the honu and took care of the honu. Mama Pele, Sister Keolalani, those who fought for Punaluu and for the honu. These guys know this. They're not touching the shoreline. The honu is not a concern for us. The honu was here. Why is it that nobody is concerned that a person took it upon himself to build a pakohaku, which encloses the honu now? And those ancestors those honu is our ancestors. One of them is Keolalani. Who gave them permission to do that? But not until Black Sands LLC came up with their SME, now all these complaints. Asbestos in Punaluu in the restaurants, never fixed the sewage, but nobody came down on Robert's Hawaii all these years. How come? Why is that? And it's a balancing act. No, we don't want development. We don't want more tourists. We don't want that, but we have to be realistic, what we're looking down in the future, what path we're gonna go. What are we leaving for our grandchildren and our children? How can we really protect Punaluu? How can we protect Kaʻū from all these outsiders who think they get the mana'o of the place, but they never grow up here? They never come to our kupuna. So I'm asking you guys, and I totally agree with Auntie Lena Ala. There's not enough information that you guys have received. Even when they submitted with the estimate, that's a decision they made. We took all the information that we could have gotten from them, and we gave them our opinion. Our opinion was, take that to the community, because we knew that wasn't going to fly. But I'm asking everybody in Kaʻū to think long and hard now and for the future of Kaʻū. These are the first developers that were willing to sit down with us and say, you know, no can, I'll go to a meeting and they say, oh, Auntie, we brought them down like 100. I said, hey, there's still too much. Try 0 in that center. We need 0 in the center. But there's other opportunities around, and they're gonna create an educational center, create a marketplace. And it's not a marketplace like the mall or anything like that. It's an open marketplace where people can go put up their tents and keep the authenticity, but also allow people an equal field to sell their goods instead of certain people cornering the market. You guys are representing everybody, the people and the developers. And I believe that exactly what you're saying, Auntie. We need to sit down and come to an understanding. How can we make this work? How can, and we can. That's what the Kaʻū people are known for. We can. We can protect the sacred sites. We can do all of that. Because the truth of the matter is this. It's not really tourists that coming and desecrating our place. It's internal. Because outside people could never come to Kaʻū and do things without the help of insiders. So our people need to start looking in the mirror. You like how people desecrate us? You like how people this? What was your part in it? In the desecration of Kaʻū? Black Sands LLC, I don't agree with everything that they do, like I said earlier. But there are do you guys know there's 2 other investors? No, it's not only Eva. There's 2 other people that we work with. And these guys, you can sit down and you can speak with them. They're about healing. They're in the right place. We need more talk stories. We need to communicate, but we can make something happen for Kaʻū, bring back the vitality of Punaluu, how it used to be when Mama Guys was all working down there, when the people had a place to go. We can control this. My pet peeve actually is with the Planning Commission. Why are you allowing these developers to go so massive? Why can they not submit in small increments? That way we can control also the development. Why are they asking for something so massive? The laws maybe need to change. So there's a whole lot of things we gotta look at, but in the bigger picture, What's gonna be best for our people? In the future, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when you guys not here, what did you leave behind? What was your, contribution to our community, to our children? I'm just asking, like Auntie said, we need to sit down and we need to talk stories. There's just too much stuff on social media sometimes. And people get personal agendas. The only agenda I get is keep Kaʻū. That's it, for the next generation. And tell the right stories and the traditional and protocol we need to keep, not create new stuff. Mahalo for your time.
Any further testimony or any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I think we should make a motion on this item. I guess I'll make the motion on this item. I move that we well, do we want to place it on a further agenda, or do we want to wait until we read further testimony and we can decide to place it on?
I think we should leave it on the agenda, continue to.
So continue?
Communication,
Okay.
ongoing, and, for individuals on the subcommittee that.
That way at the next
Yeah.
meeting, we can discuss it.
Yeah, the folks have some here and some guidance from these people just today.
Right.
Speaking whether it be from the applicant and from our community. And so if anything, I think we.
It's already on.
something. And
Yep.
so I think we just need to continue to have this open communication.
I think that's a great idea.
So the motion is to continue to the next.
Yeah, so,
I'll second it.
yeah, so the motion is to continue the discussion and decision if and how the committee will provide testimony to the Windward Planning Commission to our next meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Yeah, so we have a second. All those in favor?
Can we just
Yep.
kind of elaborate on this, because if we carried on to the next meeting, regardless of what the Windward Commission does. I mean, if they continue it, or if they, whatever situation, we want it on record, but we're still going to do.
Yeah, it's already on there. We could always just continue it again, just provide testimony at that time, so. So we have a second, so we'll do roll call.
I just have one question. If the planning commission, by chance, I mean, I agree with this motion, but if by chance they do make a decision on May 6th, what more legally can, as advisory groups, yeah, can we appeal to them? Or what can we?
So as Corporation Council mentioned, so if they made a decision and no interested party had standing, then at that point, that's the risk. we take.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the only risk we take is that,
So can that be put into your motion?
well, we wouldn't have the ability to have an emergency meeting because they would.
But contingent on their decision, basically?
Oh, so that we
Yeah.
could
Yeah,
make a, all right, so then we'll have to make a new motion. I suppose. So,
we don't have to, it's just discussion.
I think our role is absent, because absent,
Yeah.
whether it passes or it doesn't pass, we still have some responsibility to have that community discussion with the community. And to
Yeah,
the entities that we are empowered as a group.
but we
to
still
reach
can,
out. We
that's,
still can, because even, no matter what happens, we should still be doing some kind of outreach and information sharing.
yeah,
yeah, that's the clarification
Yeah.
I am trying
I
to
would
make
think
sure
it would
it's
still have to
in
be
the,
Not happen,
in
but
the, yeah.
yeah.
right,
I'm trying to
Can I
get that
retract?
clarification in there.
right. So let me retract my motion. We do have another member from the community that would like to provide testimony. Candace, would you like to
Yeah.
state your name for the record?
Make me feel nervous like. So, aloha, my name is Candice Vargas. I'm actually the property manager down in Honolulu. I know a lot of you guys personally, but there is a lot of miscommunication that's being put out into the community. Sad thing about it is a lot of it is coming from hidden agendas. And what I mean by that is there's so much things that are putting out in social media. But is it false or is it true? You have candidacy people running for mayor, talking bad about our project. But when you hit them, not literally, but when you talk to them face to face, you know, they back off because they admit that they're running off of hearsay and assumption and not facts. But see, that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to get at now. This community all know where I work. They all know I work for you. Has anybody actually came up to me and asked questions? I've reached out to people. I've wanted to hold meetings. We had 4 meetings. But how many of these people that came to these meetings actually is the people that actually grumbling now? Barely any of them. So my thing is ask questions. I've told people multiple times in the community, I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide. What I'm trying to do here is for our community to make sure it's done in the correct way. I mean, that's pretty much all I want to say. So if you guys have any questions, by all means, ask away.
Does anybody have any questions? I think we appreciate your thoughts. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you.
All right, is there further discussion on the wording of a proposed motion?
So what's the motion?
There is no motion set.
Okay, so you rescinded your.
Yeah, so am I gonna attempt this again or
Yes.
somebody else? So I'll make a motion to continue this item to the next meeting with the ability to hold an emergency meeting should the action committee agree that the need has arisen based on either public testimony or action of the planning commission. Is that suitable? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second, Ms. Bohe. And roll call, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, looks like the motion passes unanimously. We will move on to the next item on the agenda. The time is now 6:44. All right, the time is 6:44 p.m. The committee will now move on to business item number 3, overview of CDP action committee purpose and Kaʻū CDP implementation priorities for 2024. The planning department staff will provide us with a brief presentation on the background and purpose of the Kaʻū Community Development Plan Action Committee. Discussion to establish which implementation projects the committee will pursue in 2024 based on findings from the Kaʻū CDP document. Is there any member from the public that would like to provide testimony on this item that is not already done? All right, seeing none, is there any members via Zoom that would wish to provide testimony? All right, seeing none, does anyone wish to make a motion on this item? Well, I move that the planning department staff provide us with their presentation. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of this motion, may we have a roll call? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? All right, planning department staff, we await your presentation.
Happy Friday.
One by one.
Just want to preface this presentation with saying that, you gave this document adopted in 2017. Since 2017, we've all faced plenty significant challenges, right? COVID, all of that, major pauses have been happening with the action committees across the area. We had COVID, we had some staffing challenges within planning. A lot of this, the entire section at one point just disappeared for a good moment. Since then, we're slowly recovering. I came on board last year, starting to piece some things together. I got some wonderful, other staff members coming on board as well. But at the same time, still in training, and all of us brand new to these community development plans and this action committee process. So I feel like Kaʻū has felt, the Kaʻū Action Committee has felt this gap, as all the other ACs, and we're slowly trying to find a way. Just want to acknowledge that fact that we're dealing with here, and then letting you know that my goal tonight and for the year is to see how we can bring ourselves back to this document. This is our founding document, and re-strategize ourselves based on what we have in front of us right now. Our current staff and our current members and whatnot. And so a part of that conversation for me, I thought, was that we need to have, it would be helpful if we had specific items, action items, community action items that we were working towards, either collectively or within groups. But that would help kind of guide our cadence, and help us show what this action committee can do. Because there's a lot. This document is vague, it's broad, but also that just means it covers so much more inside, and there's so many things we could do. There's no way we could do everything this year. That's just the reality. But if we hone in and focus on certain items, then hopefully we can start to show some progress and see this process through. So a little refresher on the CDPs, on the AC, and then hopefully a little brainstorming on what kind of items we want to look towards for the rest of the year. Okay. So we have a little tech difficulties on Zoom, nobody's seeing the presentation. So we're gonna fix that real quick. In the meantime, I want to say, so this is our main document, but if anybody that was part of the process before, a lot of you were, there are a lot of appendices that support this document as well, that they're all available on our website. And if you guys need printed copies, to let us know that we can provide that as well. But I'm going to primarily be speaking to this and the community-based action guide, I believe it's called. Okay, cool. I'll just to the next slide, please. Okay, so the purpose of our committee here today to be a proactive, community-based steward of the implementation and updating of the CDP. This document right here, provide ongoing input and advocacy to advance implementation of the CDP goals, objectives, policies, and actions. So as long as along with this document, we also have chapter 16. That is the code that establishes all our different action committees and the duties and responsibilities, membership, those kind of things in there. And that's where most of this is pulled from. Next slide. Okay, so the CDP AC role. So we have planning department, we have the AC members, and then we have our chair and vice chair. So planning department, our role primarily, administrative support such as the timely preparation and distribution of the agenda for each meeting, to satisfy meeting notice requirements, meeting logistics, correspondence, reports, website publications, and preparation and official posting of meeting minutes. All of that administrative stuff, all of the logisticals, We're here to support you in doing those things. We also liaison with the committee and government agencies that might be related to whatever action items we're looking at. In furtherance of the CDP goals and objectives, and the tricky one here, but very important, to facilitate the implementation of the CDP and serve as a planning resource to the committee and community, right? We're here to help you find strategies on how we can make this happen. If we look at our chair masters and vice chair Purnell, chair will open all meetings of the committee. Chair will maintain order, clarity of process and action, and maintain proper decorum. Review all matters properly brought before the committee, call for votes upon the same, and announce the results. Chair will also authenticate by signature all acts of the committee as may be required by law. Example of this, if you guys were to create this letter of testimony, we would create a cover letter, chair would sign this official, and then that would be submitted as a packet to PC or whatever agency is in question. AC members as a whole, responsibilities to please regularly attend action committee meetings. I would like to say as a side note, it's helpful to us. I know we all have lives outside of these meetings, to let us know when we cannot make a meeting. Sometimes we send up emails asking whether you plan to be in attendance in Zoom or in person. It just kind of helps us with our logistics, but we understand things change, and when you say in person, now you meetings, we understand. We just like to be in the know, it's helpful. Other responsibilities include develop priorities and a work plan to implement community actions in the CDP, develop partnerships with individuals, nonprofits, businesses, and community groups, associations to implement CDP policies and actions. Transmit project updates and involvement opportunities regularly to their CDP region. Intentionally and explicitly engage all factions of their community with specific attention to those who are marginalized and underrepresented. Invest a minimum of 8 hours of work each month advancing CDP implementation through priority projects and initiatives. These meetings are typically 2 hours long, but there's a lot to do outside of these meetings to prepare for these meetings, to carry these items all the way across the finish line. So 8 hours, it's a suggestion, 8, 10, sometimes more, it depends on the item, and it depends, how we're working on it. Yes. Sunshine, so. Because the action committees are a county government board committee, they must abide by sunshine law. Sunshine law often, from what I've experienced, has been given a terrible reputation. But at the core at Sunshine is government transparency. And I think that's something that most of us can all agree is important. And so that's why we are subjected to this process. The public needs to know in advance when we have a meeting. The public needs to know what we talk about at the meeting, hence our minutes. So these are important steps to our process that distinguishes us from any other nonprofit, any other club, any other group outside of the county umbrella. So it makes things harder, yes. Is it difficult to understand? Yes. We have a lawyer though, who's here to help us and support us. And we have planning is receiving, trainings to keep ourselves, and also the ACs themselves members can also be receiving these trainings. We want to get into that cycle. It's part of the process. It feels restricting, but it's not without a purpose. And so once we understand that, once we learn how to navigate this, it won't seem like such a high barrier. We also follow a modified version of Robert's Rule of Order. This is to help us get our meeting from beginning to end. It also is another set of rules that can seem inhibiting and seem that it just makes connecting with the community painful. But it's really important and helps us kind of guide our discussion, focus on our agenda items. It's so easy to get off on different tangents and unrelated. And it's just a tool to help us get, through what we say we're going to do, essentially. Yeah, that's all. Okay, now on to our document itself. So, just a little background of the document. The values and mission statement. This is important. It's nice for everybody to remember. So, CDP, the Kaʻū CDP should honor Kaʻū's unique and full lifestyle, its connection between people and place, and its distinctive Hawaiian cultural heritage. It must plan for the future in ways that increase economic opportunities through a diverse, resilient, and sustainable economy, protect and provide reasonable access to natural and recreational resources, including the mountain forest, the coastline, open spaces, park facilities and programs. Strengthen families, communities, and the diversity of local culture. Excellent. The document itself is divided up, chapters 1 and 2, introductions, applicability, and advanced preferred conservation and settlement patterns. Oh, boy. Okay, I'm gonna skip that. The CDP document itself, we've been doing this presentation. All the ACs. Please forgive my lack of catching that. Section 1 starts with introduction. Section 2, applicability. Oh, but you were, Section 3, advanced preferred conservation and settlement patterns. Section 4, protect and enhance natural and cultural resources. Section 5, strengthen infrastructure, facilities, and services. Section 6, build a resilient, sustainable economy. And Section 7, pursue potential synergistic projects. These are the main themes of the document. And if you go into these sections, you'll see more detailed, more, specific objectives, policies, actions, types of advocacy. Very helpful. You'll see land use maps. It's a great document. Now, this document can't do it all on its own. I mean, it could, we could create it all, but already there exists support documents to help us really dive deeper into the specific actions of this. So now the rest of this kind of PowerPoint just goes on to what is called the Appendix 8A. It's on the website. We sent it to you guys in your emails today. Again, if you need a hard copy, let us know. But I believe actually at orientation, all of you should have received a copy of this, but again, that is. So this appendix, community-based collaborative action guide. This guide goes through several community actions and highlights specific needs, partners, next steps. Is helpful. It's a great starting point for us to decide. But again, it covers so many specific topics. We don't want to tell you what we think is wrong. We want to hear from you. This is the whole thing, right? To come from the action committee for you guys to see but we just are here to help you prioritize and help how to navigate this process. So with that, I just threw some examples here and we'll just kind of run through them just to like refresh on what exists. Keep in mind all those larger things that I mentioned earlier, that there's so much more. But go to the next slide. One example of an initiative that we could prioritize this year, we'll see it on page 33 of that guide, is under the theme of protect and enhance ecosystem, is community action number 5. Develop and implement site-specific and watershed-specific management plans for high priority areas and resources. Now, obviously, that's a huge project in and of itself. We can go to the guide, look into what next steps have been highlighted, see if that's something that we're interested in. These are partners that are all listed within the guide that we can work with, see what this current status is today, see if we have a role or what kind of role we have in pushing an item like this forward. Next slide. Another item, community action number 13, under the theme of establish regional system of access trails and supporting facilities. So the action number is to develop and implement plans to establish and manage specific access points and trail centers. Again, in the community-based action guide, there are specific steps that are kind of already mapped out for us within there that we could look into and seeing what if we would want to engage in this process. And also the list of community partners that would include fishermen, hunters, landowners, all of those. Okay, under the theme of strengthen infrastructure, facilities, and services, We have community action number 16, so as it reads, in Mark Twain agrees that subdivisions establishing a community development corporation to develop and maintain roads and greens and parks. Mark Twain agrees as roads lack an organized corporation to build and maintain roads, and there's no formal mechanism for managing greens and parks. At the same time, if infrastructure isn't improved, it will likely accelerate, build out, and implement costs, which could significantly impact the area's open space. Again, there's more details within the guide that we can look into as a group. Yeah, and I don't know, there might be more, there might not. And that's it, that's all I gave you guys. There's a bunch of them in there. This, you know, if I were to list out all of them, it would have been there. But just examples, just to get the conversation going. What we have been doing as frequently, it is 7 o'clock, maybe we should adjourn around 7:30. Normally, we don't have a lot of time after, as we've been doing this presentation to the other ACs, and what we end up doing is sending a survey out to the committee members. Asking them to submit some top contender ideas, and then we'll have those results, and then we can from there kind of condense it even more at the next meeting to see what it is. Another item is we actually have a bit of time left compared to what I normally have left. And we can actually start that conversation now, see how far we get, see if we have some consistent themes that pop up already, whether it's one, we want to focus on a specific chapter in CDP and then from there narrow, or if we already have particular projects and partners in mind that need us, like that's also an item, right? And that this document is broad, and so it helps us in that for us to engage.
And so with all what you said, it's very good. We go back to I think other members might have the same question is, the groups that we formed before are no more.
My understanding, and now I need to go back to the minutes, but my understanding is that when we had that presentation with, I believe, Professor Susana, those were all dissolved. Now, now that you bring up that question, I'm gonna share a little bit about strategy, right? So we had those permitted interaction groups trainings, where we realized that the permitted interaction group is basically that 3-meeting approach, right? I think we all kind of remember, right? We create the pig goes off and does what they do. They're gonna create a report. When the pig is ready to present the report to the committee, then they do that meeting where they present the report. Once they present that report, no decision-making is made yet, and then at a subsequent meeting, the committee makes a decision based off that, on that. Now, for the permitted interaction groups, that is a kind of a tool that is best, in my opinion, personal opinion, when we have three or more, but less than 4, it's my understanding. So I believe that's less than quorum is 5.
Yeah.
So it would be 3 to 4 individuals are working together. Now, an alternative to that was if we don't need 3 or 4 individuals, and we have 2 individuals working on a project or on an action effort, then they won't need to form a permitted interaction group. They can be on their own. They are abiding by sunshine, communicating and going out to the community and talking with whoever they're talking about this item that they're working, right? So a strategy, and what's the benefit of that? And actually both of those options, the pig and the 2 individuals going out, is that a lot of work can be done without having to go through the procedural process of agendizing these meetings. It takes a lot of fun stuff. I mean, it's an appropriate thing, but yeah.
Because I guess as chair, I'll say this as an individual too, is that we started off back when we first formed, and we did subcommittees, and so we all went on, and I don't think we all knew that we would do our work, come back, present it, and then it would then be agendized for the next one, and then it would dissolve. Because we all kept doing what we were doing, because that's what we do in the community, is we just kind of do what we need to do, or we feel like we're doing something. And so I think what happened is, then we got to a point, and, you know, maybe you guys want to say something too, is then it's like, oh, well, maybe we better not do anything, because it got to a point where, what are we doing? You know, and it took us a year, yeah, still over a year to figure this out. And so some of us are still doing stuff in the community, and doing the best we can, but not linking it to this, is because we had confusion. At least I was confused. I don't know about you guys, but it was difficult, okay? So I think we talked that, yeah, we need to kind of figure out a way on how we pick this up again and continue to do what we have done in the past, but do it in this approach that you're telling us, which I really appreciate, because that, I think, I'm proud of it, yeah. So, which leads us to the point, and I may be out of context here, but there's three of us who are kupuna. We're proud by the end of the year. So it's kind of like we're spinning our wheels and we're trying our best. And it's not to say that when I'm not on this committee, that I ain't gonna be doing something on my own, because that's what I do anyway. So, we need to know and be assured that what we're doing is going to be carried on. And so, are you guys looking for somebody to replace the three of us?
That's another thing, right? So I actually, so one, you guys have one vacancy still yet, right? I believe there's applications pending in the mayor's office for that vacancy, but then we have the upcoming 3 vacancies that are coming before we know. And so I am having trouble getting applications across all the other districts. I have a lot of it. This is actually my most highest membership, active membership, no holdovers committee. You guys are the only ones with no holdovers. Everybody, I have one committee out there that has 1 member that isn't a holdover, and everybody else is a holdovers. I have another committee out there with 3 or 4 vacancies. So filling these vacancies, replacing members, is a top, that is a top thing. And a problem that I'm finding is I believe that because of COVID, because of the staffing challenges, because the ACs haven't been able to do their work or haven't been given the opportunity, the proper foundation to do what they do, the people aren't interested, right? Because it looks like nothing's getting done. And I think that's a valid image for the community to have. But I'm working to change that narrative, right? And so it's gonna take time. And so that, yes, actively working on it, and I think this is a part of it. I think if we can show some results, then people will be more inclined to volunteer to be a part of this committee. And so I'm hoping that by the time the 3 of your terms expire, we have a different conversation happening about it. So, yes, but also this is we're hoping this is a long one.
So you mentioned holdover status. It says members with holdover status can remain on the action committee, but are eligible for replacement. So this holdover status, would that be like
if they chose to stay as holdovers, they could.
Until
They are replaced, or until they don't feel like it anymore, until they send their resignation in writing.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Worst case scenario.
Just throwing it out.
Yeah, I had a question on the criteria for the, I guess the terms of the members. Like some members get different, everybody has.
So that's because, right, so now this is because you guys are the newest AC. The ACs have staggered terms, so that's how it started off. Everybody eventually will have, it's a 4-year term, but because you guys just started in 2020, I believe, we started them off staggered, so that's why some have 3 years, some have 2 years, some have 3 years, some have 4 years. So then that way, it's not like every 4 years we have a brand new action committee. That way, we lose 3 at a time. And then we replace, so that way we keep that historical knowledge. That was the intention. Yeah. But, some people leave midterm, some people get assigned midterm, so, yeah.
And then it's only one term.
One 4-year term, and then I believe you have to wait 2 years before getting reappointed. I need to double check. I would need to double check that, but it's something. You would have to take it.
I don't know either.
Oh. Anyways, yes. So on top of picking action items, the other part is how to strategize it. And a lot of that comes from what you guys want to do. Right? We could do 2 members picking a project, we could do creating pigs and doing multiple projects. Planning staff, of course, would be supportive and available to even host meetings or come out here and be a part of those different things, outside of this meeting. But also, we could actually choose items that you guys all want to work on collectively. Every meeting, you guys are bringing to the table what, there's so many ways to go about it.
And so the, concerns that we've been working on are still ongoing concerns. So at this point, if we move the action members to say they still want to do such and such with so-and-so
Yes.
for this number. of
Yes,
people.
so essentially other action committees that had also gone through that dissolving of their PIGS process. If there was a project that they're still interested in, they brought it back up and recreated that PIG, and now it's kind of just more in a more intentional way, kind of with this new information that we have. So if there's items that were dissolved and it's still active and pending, and those are what you want to work on, yeah, this would be the time to kind of bring it back to the surface, see who's interested, seeing if it's a PIG, seeing if it's, what kind of stuff.
But so like Auntie Leigh was saying, so like, I can't think of an example. But let's say, we had a pig about Kaʻū and we dissolved the pig, but I still was interested in gathering information about it. I still legally compliant with the sunshine law could do whatever. And then when we come to agenda for next meeting, it's like, oh, I'm still going down there. And now I think, oh, we should discuss this at the next meeting because I've been doing my own investigation and working with the public. And I think we should discuss it at the next meeting.
Absolutely. I mentioned 2 people because sometimes it's helpful to have that second person, but even an individual AC member can take on a task or a project. And then when you're ready to give updates, you let chairs know, you let planning know and say, I'm ready to give an update at the next meeting, please put up.
But that wouldn't be like big, that's just me.
No, that's just you. That's just you doing.
But if it's 2 people. Is it?
No, 3
Three.
to 4.
2 is okay.
2 is okay. 2 is okay. Yes.
So I'm not sure where this fits in, but one of the concerns that we've talked about for 6 months or so is getting a way for us to get notified of upcoming issues that we need to be concerned about that are happening in Kaʻū. Development issues, we've been talking about this water bottling facility in Kahala for 6 months, and we don't know anything about it. And so, to somehow have and I know we're not an official referral agency for development, but for us to know, because people in the community ask me what's going on here on the action committee, and I have to say, I have no idea. But that was one of the things we had talked about was how can we, and we had a subcommittee that was working on that for a while. That was one of our initial concerns.
On public lands or on development?
Well, on just finding out things that are going on in the community and how. And so, I think it's fine for us to, because we all have our connections in the community. It's fine for us to know what's going on in our community ourselves, but we need to know things that are in process with the planning department.
Yeah.
Or other things that you might know about of other departments so that we can react to them or talk to people.
I hear you. And what you're mentioning is something that I'm definitely hearing from other action committees. And so at the core of it, what I hear is the disconnect, right? The disconnect from government or from agencies to committees like you besides selves with the community as a whole. So and a part of this re-strategizing, this reorientation is also my intention to kind of course, be that bridge, but also to kind of to share the information if it hasn't been shared already, right? So on planning, if you scroll down, so this is the planning department website. This is our main page. Now, if you scroll down, we have our calendar, right? So this is where you can see when we have our meetings and all the other, Water Board, Board of Appeals, planning. If you scroll further down, you'll see public notices. So now if you go down here, you can see the different types of public notices that they post on the website. So this is one avenue, and this is more for our administrative division type of permits. So this is your subdivision, your variances, consolidations, plan approvals. All of these get posted here every time. Also by code, they're posted in the newspaper. Not as easy to get. So instead, here they are on the website.
And how do we find that? What's the link to?
So this is the planning department. We can send this link out to you guys all, but also Hawaii County Planning Department, Google search, and this is our main page. And you just scroll to the bottom, and these are updated every time there's a repost. Sometimes it's twice a month, sometimes it's once. Now, on top of this, if you look at our other, our planning division, so that's planning commission, when we're doing the work, they also have an email listserv. Now that I can send that link out, I've been meaning to send it out to all AC members. We can send out that link for you guys to sign yourself up. You know how to get there? If you go to the county website, I can navigate it, we can all do it together real quick. But you can also get on that list service, so anytime they post an agenda, you'll get it right in your email. And on top of it, also on our planning department, you can navigate to the commissions, and then you can see previous minutes and all those kind of things. But, okay.
So the one that said planning applications, at what stage of the application is
it
that
depends.
put on there?
It depends on the specific type, and if we want to go into a deeper dive like that, like we can, I'm not really prepared for that right now. But that's something we can look into, just to get our ACs familiar with the processes that happen in planning. Now, also, this is just the umbrella of planning, right? We have a lot of other things that affect our communities that are outside of the planning department.
Right.
And even outside the county level, right? We got water commission at the state level. We have all of these other things that are insanely important for us here and still relevant. And the action committee technically still has a role. You could be providing testimony to these other commissions at the state level with the foundation of the CDP, and this is the guiding document. That's a thing that could, okay, so if you go to the county, we'll send out this link. If you hover over departments, I'm sorry, if you hover over our county, and then if you go to over here, sign up for board and commission, our county, sign up for board and commission notifications. Now, this is gonna take you, scroll down a little bit. You fill in your page, this is gonna take you to all the county boards and commissions. So this is us. You'll see Kaʻū, CDP in there. You'll see Windward, Leeward Planning Commission. You'll see, Fire Board of Appeals. You'll see the Pension Board. You'll see Police Commission. You'll see all of them here. And you can sign up and get those right into your email. You just check off the box of the widgets. And so a strategy that could be for an AC is that we have some designated AC members that is they're just watchdogs, essentially, right? And then anything that stands out, anything that's related to Kaʻū, they look into it. They can ask the different departments or agencies for those public records on what's happening, the application or whatever it is, and then see if it's see if it's worthy, or see what role the AC could have in that. If there is a role, sometimes there's no role for testimony. So, sometimes it's an administrative thing, but that could be a strategy that the AC has, and keeping up with the current events. And also in terms of outreach also, right? We have our Kaʻū CDP listserv that we blast out things when they come across it, but also if there's things that you guys find are relevant, we can look at it. We also have our social medias also, where we post our meetings, notices, and our reminders and our save the dates and things like that. Yeah, that's a strategy. Any other?
Also, you guys have questions, you can always get in touch with my office, and we're learning still, but we kind of know who to email if you have a question about something. out.
Michelle, can you give them your access, your email?
It's Michelle.
Yeah.
Wait,
I know. They don't.
I'm already on for this.
yeah, or they call my office too, and my legislative
Yeah.
aid and they are also really,
Yes.
really.
They're really good.
And my understanding is they also follow judicial districts. It should be the same doctors, but maybe that is something to look into. But yes, yeah, Kaʻū is under Windward Planning Commission. Just to clarify.
Oh,
I'm sure we, oh, yes, Leeward does. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
For the longest time, every time I heard windward or leeward, I think the whole world. It never pertained to us, the other thing.
We got 10 minutes on the clock, or 9 minutes on the clock left. I'm kind of doubting that we're gonna choose our specific action items right now.
so that was just for commission unification, right? So, but I think what Beth was mentioning is that, so like the water bottle facility, for example. That, my understanding, was just like a by right approval, right?
That didn't require any zoning, that was entirely done.
Yeah.
So that didn't require any zoning changes, so that's why they didn't go through the normal processes that you see, right? Because there was no SMA application, there was no rezoning. It was already zoned industrial. So if anything, they did maybe to the facility, might have been with Public Works, and maybe they did some like restructure. I don't know. In terms
They
of
haven't
that.
done anything, but
Yeah, I thought it went to the water commission. Probably because it takes water, but, and then that's at the state, so.
I did have some people that reached out because of the land clearing. And so eventually I did get in touch with Al County, who's the landowner. And he told me he's just cleaning it up. He doesn't have any plans to do anything at this time. Whether believe him or not, it's up to you, but I did ask that if he did plan to do something to let him know. And that'll probably work out best for everyone, so there you go.
I thought they was doing it for the fire,
Yeah,
because,
fire and.
because
now he
what
wants-
happened in Maui, so everybody's kind of like, hey, we'll move along, so.
Yes, then he found 50 more derelict cars.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, we're gonna clean it up, and now you can see all these cars are hiding.
Okay.
So the water board, that's separate from the water.
Right, that's with, the Department of Water Supply, I'm not versed on all the words.
Okay.
Still learning you guys, but yeah,
Yes, they.
but we can, and what's
The
nice.
water supply is semi-autonomous.
Yes.
They got their own thing. But we do have our District 6 representative on the board of water supply. Keith Unger. for example. So, if you have questions about water.
And all of these boards and commissions that you see on that website that you can sign up for, you can go on the mayor's website and get also all the fact sheets. So even your guys' fact sheet is up there, that lists all the members, a little blurb about their purpose, their, their legal authority and all those kind of things, and their contact.
Yeah, the fact sheet. Agency fact.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I did some research and it says that they need approval from the Department of Health to use water for their water bottle the city. So, but I found some things, but I don't know. It'd be nice to receive it from you guys so that we could share it with, our community versus what. If somebody showed it to me, I'm not gonna name names, but, for all I know, they made it all up, so I don't. But it looked up back.
So considering our meeting is probably coming to a close.
Yeah.
Plan can send out that Google form and you guys can do some, look into the documents. Share some ideas of what you guys want to prioritize, how, if, like, this should be a Google form, and then you guys kind of fill in the blanks of what you're interested in. We can compile that all up, present it at the next meeting, and then from there come up with some strategies, see if there's enough similarities, see if, people want to do their own. Does that sound something that the action committee would be interested in? For planning to put together, or is there another process that you guys are more interested in?
Well, why don't you try this, because we don't even know if this has never been done, so if this might work, and if it doesn't, how we learn what.
Yeah, I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
What's your process for putting together the agenda for our
Yes.
meeting?
Of course, okay, so yes.
Okay, and in the same thing, we should probably talk about future meetings, because this is a special meeting.
This is a special.
And then we've also got the thing, we need to touch upon meetings after all of this.
Okay, so, yes, so on top of this whole reorientation, regrounding process that I'm going through with the different ACs, another, something that I'm throwing into the mix is having, meetings with our chair and vice chair. These meetings to happen before our actual meeting to help us draft our agenda. And to also just touch base to make sure that we're following, we're on the right path together, keeping communication, following up on the previous meeting and what has been done, what hasn't been done, if they've heard of anything else from other people. So that meeting happens before our sunshine posting date. And so in that meeting, we'll cover the business agenda and kind of go through it. Then planning will, after that meeting, draft up the agenda, send it to the chairs to make sure that it follows what we were talking about in our meeting. And then once they send us their approval, then we go up with posting that. And then going through the rest of the procedures that you see on social media and the email blast and everything like that. Currently, Kaʻū is on a quarterly meeting cadence, is what you guys voted on. Today's meeting was a special meeting about, any member can just make this recommendation that I would like to request a special meeting, talk about it with the chairs, see if we can get form for it, and then just kind of what happened here today. And then those specific items that are prioritized for the special meeting get prioritized on that agenda.
But the members, as an example, at this meeting is, okay, so we're all here. At the end of the meeting, or where we're planning agenda for the next meeting, that's where we also have input into the agenda that you folks take into consideration.
You guys always have input, yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's even for the public can reach out ideally to the chairs or to the community members, and you guys pass it up to the chairs. And then when we talk, and I mean, we'll also share anything that we get, any inquiries we've done in the past, that come our way, and then we kind of collectively come up with that. Because we have to take and consider time restraints, take in consideration of, the different priorities. So that's kind of the gist of it.
So if any one of us something comes up that we would like to put on the agenda, we just get a hold of.
Absolutely. Reach out to chairs and you can see planning. Okay, and then, yeah, and if you need,
She's on the team though, right? You're on that same email, right?
yes, and we can share, June's email,
Yes.
at the end of this meeting.
Maybe you can, because I used to do it all the time from years ago when I did the CDP. When you guys email the CDP, respond to these guys, goes to all the important people. You don't see their names.
Yes.
But anytime you guys say something to them or respond, Corporation Council gets it, Mary Ann gets it probably.
Right, so the whole
Yeah.
CDP, that CDP planning, that CDP email that you guys often see that comes from us, that has all of us in it. So it has all the planners, it has, management, it has all of the whole CDP team, CC'd on there. Yeah, so feel free to send inquiries that way, but also in communication with your chairs. You're allowed by sunshine to talk about agenda items. And anything that comes up in the community. If the agenda is already posted, we would have to make an amendment to the agenda. So that's where, and a lot of times it's just not the ideal scenario. But yeah, so keep in mind that agenda posting. And we're trying to, the team's learning the best practices of the different, we're in charge of 5 active AC members, action committee. So just to keep that in mind, even though we are a team of 4 planners and other support staff, what we do for you guys, we also provide to all the other ACs, and some ACs are meeting monthly or more frequently, and so these sunshine, just go back, bring it, these sunshine requirements, do add up, right? And so it takes a toll to do the posters, to go to clerk's office and all of that. But I just want to let you know that, like, just to say that we're here, we're trying to fix it and make it better, but also to keep in mind that we are still trying to work on our procedures and processes to make ourselves most efficient. I don't know, a little disclaimer, we're working on it still. It's not perfect yet.
But you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
Appreciate
glad-
everything.
Yeah, and I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you,
Thank
are
you.
moving it along and also educating us on the way, because it helps us do a better job, because I don't, there was some incomplete, it's like you don't feel like, because we didn't have the support, because you was put it at the very beginning when we became members, we were told we would not get support from your department because you guys were short staffed. And so we were kind of floundering because we want to operate the way we always operated Kaʻū, but that's not right under the Sunshine Law. So we were like, well, we'll continue to do our stuff because we're not a bike. So this really helps.
Yeah, it's kind of wild too that you guys started off in the middle of COVID. Congratulations on making it here today. Good job. Thank you all for being here. Okay.
And maybe what we could bring up now, since we're talking about meetings and stuff, can we talk about, we passed a few months ago to have quarterly meetings, and it has brought to my attention as a member, from another member, of the concern with all of these concerns we have in Kaʻū. Should we meet more often? Should we look at that question of meeting quarterly, or do we want to meet more sooner? Not monthly, but maybe every 2 months. I'm not sure, but we should.
Well, we are meeting in,
Our next
That's what-
meeting is
May.
Yeah,
so,
but this would be. for
But
the-
they've already talked about the whole rest of the year.
Yeah.
I agree with you, that
Well,
we should talk about meetings.
Yeah. So how do you guys feel? This is all voluntary. so
Yes.
I think that's a good item for the next agenda, right?
If I can say, like, because we have a meeting next month coming up in May, then also at that meeting, maybe we'll see what kind of projects we're working on, and maybe that might also influence how frequently we want to, because depending on our strategy. So maybe that can all be decided at the next meeting.
And can you guys support that though, if you decide to do more meetings? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, it takes a toll on you guys as well, so.
We can talk about it. We can see what happens. I appreciate.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, yeah.
so technically, we're still on business item number 3, so would anybody like to make a motion on this item? Or is there further discussion on this item? And then we can talk about agenda items for the next meeting, which, as they mentioned, could include having more periodic meetings. All right, why?
No.
I
No.
move that we accept the planning department's presentation and move on with the agenda for the next meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, so do we have I guess I'm supposed to say motion by committee chair Masters, second by committee.
Auntie.
Do we have a roll call? All those in favor say aye.
I have a question,
Uh,
and this is Robert's rules. If it's a roll call, are we supposed to roll call? Or, because if it's a,
Just call.
or it's just, you can just call for a vote.
But I would like some
aye.
clarification from Jane, and maybe we'll work on this.
Only-
to clarify.
yeah.
This is remnants of our previous.
I know, but there is a difference if you,
Yep, you're right.
if it goes in your minutes and you ask for a roll call and you just do an aye. It's.
Good night,
Good
Michelle.
night.
Night. You guys, bye, love.
Thank you.
So yes, so technically you're correct. A roll call vote is where the staff would call each person in order to vote separately. Under the changes in the sunshine law, if you expect, if whoever's calling for the vote expects it to be unanimous votes don't require a roll call. So usually I mean, you guys seem to be super agreeable and seem to be voting all together on things, but usually what I tell my boards and commissions is like, your motion to adjourn, right, pretty much everyone's gonna say yes. So those kind of things, oftentimes your motion to accept your minutes, those ones you expect are gonna be unanimous. Those ones you can do by just all in favor, everybody says aye, any opposed, nobody says anything, you're good. Technically, if you're doing a roll call vote, what you do is you turn to the staff and say, staff, could I have a roll call vote, please? And they will call each member in turn. And you should be doing that if you are expecting a vote that's maybe not gonna be unanimous.
And sometimes if you don't know and you call for the vote, you don't say roll call, you just call. for the
Yes, you
vote,
just
and
say-
then One dissents, then you can.
Then
still
you
call
can turn
for a
around,
vote.
yeah. So, and really all you need to do is say, I have a motion for this with a second, and, you know, or I'm getting lost now. May I have a vote, you know, all in favor? Yeah, let everybody speak. Any opposed? Nothing, then you're good. Yeah, and one thing, since I'm up here, I'm gonna offer you one thing, kind of in response to your concern about pigs all being dissolved. I think the way that rolled out of our office, it may have come across more harsh than it needed to be. And it was, our concern is procedural. And so what I would encourage you guys to do is not take that three-step process is just, you know, it's just a legal requirement in state law that we're stuck with. And like Miriam said, sunshine law is super oppressive when it applies to groups like you guys. You know, if you think about the government agencies that you really want to be transparent, it makes a lot of sense. But the fact that it's a blanket applies to everybody is tough. So think about your pig groups as you've decided you want to do something. It's something that needs to take place outside the meeting, right? So your first meeting, you form your group, you tell them what they're going to go do. They go out, they do their stuff, they come back, they give their report. At that third meeting, you get to discuss it. And if you need to take a vote, that doesn't mean that the project is POW, right? If you came back and said, this is what we found, and really it's essentially an update, at that same meeting, reform the pig. It can be the same task. It can be even the same people. Send them out to do more of the same project. So it's a awkward procedural thing that we're stuck with, but it shouldn't be an expectation that you can't be out there in the community. That's why you're here, right? That's why we wanted you folks, because you are out in the community. You're talking to people, you're doing all the things, and that, you know, we want that to continue. And it's just kind of the whole pig formality is a formal wrinkle. Think of it that way. So, keep doing a good set. We really appreciate all your effort.
All right, staff, do we have a roll call?
And actually, I learned something new the other day because I was watching the council, and I don't know whether Michelle noticed this one or not. Heather Kimball, the council chair, discovered through some Robert's Rules training that she did, that apparently for adjournment, you don't even need a vote. Don't even need a vote.
Yeah.
So you as the chair can say,
See you later.
we've conducted all our business and I will adjourn the meeting. So you don't even need a vote.
Did we vote?
You may vote too.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Seeing none, all right. I think so, the last item on the agenda was, items for the next meeting. So I'll do this very quickly. Any action committee members have any items they would like to agendize for a future meeting? I believe that delayed.
That I don't wish to carry forward what was on the agenda.
Yes, I believe Nancy Lay mentioned perhaps having meeting more than quarterly, so that's something that we should certainly, consider adding to the next agenda. Does anybody have any other items they can think of at this time?
Well, the minutes from our last meeting said these are proposed agenda items for the next meeting.
So we should definitely note those.
We should definitely note those, and I'm not sure that they are all still applicable, but I don't even know what this one is having to do with solar farms, but I think since these were proposed agenda items for the next meeting,
Okay, so maybe we'll read them off very quickly. The Pahala water bottling facility. The egress ingress at Green Sands. We already, Honolulu, I believe, is already on the agenda currently.
general plan
I
update,
believe that's already been approved.
I think we're still taking.
Oh, general plan, so general public comment period closed, April 1. They are planning, the general plan team, they are working to, create a revised draft that will be presented to planning commission. When that goes, when that revised draft is completed, the estimated deadline is the end of July. They will go out again with a few public workshops to outreach about the plan. Public comment period will be open again for that moment. And then once that public comment period closes, it will be packaged up and given to the planning commission. So.
Okay, so we'll keep the general plan on the agenda for now, as a possible meeting. Is there anything further that anybody would like to add?
On your agenda, Master's just gonna send those, Google Forms out, you said?
I'm gonna send out the Google form.
All right, that should come from staff, all right?
I have,
Okay,
I think it's probably just a comment, but I think, might be a good idea, maybe now's a good time to update our contact information for one another.
okay.
Some folks getting new cell phones or whatever the case may be, email changes.
It's been a couple years.
Yeah, that we can update, that way we can get a hold of one another.
My citizen.
Huh?
Yeah, so maybe,
Me too.
But that's a good, but that's very good.
so would that be,
Like for us, like we could send it to us, but then I would need authorization that you authorize that we share with the other AC members. So
Has anybody's information changed?
no,
Okay.
Well, that was easy.
I can, if there's a request to share the community directory for the president to share that, does everybody, then we would need your confirmation and ideally in writing.
okay.
Go ahead. Catherine. I don't think this is true.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
I keep calling, missing somebody.
Okay.
All right, if anyone has any other agenda items,
Call you.
yeah, I was gonna say, please email the community planning team at cdp@hawaii.gov, myself, Jean Campbell, Corporation Council, was that her? The next meeting will be on May 22nd, 2024. I do not have any announcements from the chair. Do any committee members or staff?
It's not Nolly, right?
Yeah, so the next meeting will be at Honolulu, is that correct?
I think the next meeting was scheduled for here.
Oh, so you come
I'm
back?
actually looking at having it over there in the district gym.
Because we were doing.
Yeah, 'cause this was a special meeting.
This was a special, so we already had reservations for the other
Yeah.
meetings and the
Okay,
other
so we
locations.
still gotta do
Yeah.
the Pahala one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind
That's
of.
the regular schedule program.
But
May
you said it's, you could have a place at that spot.
22nd,
Wednesday.
Pahala.
Oh.
So the first one, the reservation.
Can I tell you, it also for 5 versus 5:30, the consensus for the AC meeting at 5 versus 5:30, is there a strong preference in either direction?
For me, it doesn't make a difference, but so I can meet anytime.
I think we did 5 because me and him are working at the school, so,
Yeah.
but 5 o'clock actually.
5 o'clock is okay with you two?
I don't work, so I don't care.
It's just working night.
Okay, so maybe we could do the next meeting at 5 It's just sometimes staff doesn't get home till like 10 o'clock.
That works, yeah.
So five.
5 o'clock?
That's fine.
Fine.
I guess we home a little earlier.
Feel free to reach out.
Okay, so 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Oh, it was my bad.
Yes.
All right, any further announcements from committee members or staff? All right, seeing none, may I please have a motion and second to adjourn?
Oh,
I will motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All right, motion by committee chair Masters, second by committee member Ibarra. This meeting is adjourned.
Yay.
46 P.M. Hawaii Standard Time. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.